So Rich and I went to the Heavy Montreal Festival in Quebec, Canada, and it was fantastic. And then Eric didn't go, so we decided to make him sit and listen to us talk about how great it was on the podcast. And what you're about to hear is day one, because it was a 3-day festival. We saw a lot of bands, and it took a little bit to cover all of it. So day one, we're going to talk about Gorguts, Anonymus, Beyond Creation, Meshuggah, Arch Enemy. If you're a fan of Arch Enemy, you might want to write down this email. It's hatemail@yourmusicisbad.com. You might need that later. Extreme, Alex is on fire, or Alexis on fire, depending on if you're saying it correctly or being an asshole. Neurosis and Korn playing their entire first album in its entirety. We go into quite a bit of detail on that, but it might require a trigger warning. So here's day one. Enjoy.
So I'm here with Rich and Eric. Rich and I just got back from Heavy Montreal, and Eric did not go to Heavy Montreal, and so now we're going to tell him about it and how great it was.
Lucky bastards.
There really wasn't a whole lot of luck involved.
Yeah, it was
mainly
just
like
planning and
bought
cash.
tickets,
Hey,
and
man.
it went. It's pretty cheap too overall. Like it really.
Well, no,
I
actually,
know.
so there was some luck before we even got there. So I've been dating this flight attendant, and she works a lot of international flights, and she, I sort of admitted to her, I didn't have a passport. This thing I'm just sort of embarrassed about, but I never end up getting it. And we told her that we were going, and the next day she texts me. She's like, "How are you gonna go to this thing if you don't have a passport?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Like I've been to Canada before." And I looked it up. They'd changed the rules. So I had to go do the whole thing where, you go to the passport office and they rush you the thing and
Yep.
you pay a bunch of money, but whatever. I got a passport. So, the mail showed up. That's pretty dicey.
Yeah.
So
Well, and yeah,
there
and
was some luck.
our tickets showed up like 3 days before we left.
Yeah. So this was totally ridiculous. We bought tickets months in advance for the fest. And it said on the thing, will call was not an option. Your only options were different, whatever the Canadian UPS thing is. And it said they'll be mailed you within the 21 days preceding the fest. And so mine showed up 6 days before the fest. When is yours showed up? Was it that same day? Or
It was,
the
it was the
next
same day. You told me, and I was like, I should check my mailbox.
Yeah, and so, but the thing is, if you had decided to say go on vacation for a week, you wouldn't have got your tickets.
Yeah.
I bought another ticket the week of, and then I had the option to do will call, but there was a $6 or $7 Canadian charge. But
yeah.
I would totally pay $6 or $7 Canadian to not have to remember, because if you forget to take that on the plane, then you're pretty screwed. But whatever. So that was dumb.
Yeah. But it worked out.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's see. It was a 3-day festival, and started off on Friday. And the first band we saw was Gorguts. And I guess you can explain pretty good what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, well, no, so this is the thing. So Gorguts has been around for a long time, and Luc Lemay, he's a big fan of Krzysztof Penderecki. Is this Polish composer who wrote the Threnody for the Victims of Hiroshima, which actually the original title to that is Essay for 52 String Instruments, but that didn't really have the glamour. The story that I heard is that someone heard it. I don't know if this was at rehearsal or what, and said that the sound at the end sounded like a nuclear blast, and so he changed the name, and it's a pretty famous piece now. But so Penderecki wrote a bunch of really weird stuff, and Luke's this French Canadian dude who is super into this, and I think he even studied with him for a bit, and so he has a super weird metal band, and they had one album that was called Obscura, which was like the really super weird one. It's just like totally frenetic, crazy, all over the place death metal, but it's not like, it's not like super heavy, super technical. It's like they do all these weird things where like they tap on the strings with a pick and like just make all kinds of weird noises. And then, so they've sort of moved out of that. So actually the guy who used to be in the band, Steve, the other guitar player, he's actually dead. And now it's Colin Marston and Kevin Huffnagel, who live here in New York City. And we're in like Dysrhythmia and Behold the Octopus. And so they play in the band now. And I've got a story about that as well, but try to keep my tangents and rage to a minimum at present. So with that lineup, it's what the kids call the skronk metal.
What?
Okay, yeah, right. So so there's actually a dystrophy show tonight. So again, I'm gonna plug something that no one can go to.
Yeah,
because this won't be online for like another week and a half.
Yeah.
But Dystrophy are this New Jersey band. They're pretty cool dudes. But they are all about the slams and the skronk. And skronk metal is basically like, it's death metal, but instead of being like super heavy, it's a lot of clean playing that's just totally dissonant. So the thing, like, I don't like new Gorguts really. So I liked Obscura because it was like totally frenetic and all over the place. But like the skronk stuff, there's no concept of tension and release. It's just all dissonant all the time. But it's not like in the way, like, so Scriabin would write pieces, right, that have like no harmonic goal or just totally dissonant. But there's there's dynamics or form, and they go somewhere amazingly, but he was kind of like a super genius. So New Gorguts is just kind of like for like a whole album, and it's all like mid-tempo and like so yeah, I don't know, I wasn't super pumped. I was like, okay, we'll go watch them, but luckily they did play like the last three songs they played.
That was my notes, is the last three songs.
The last three songs were songs off Obscura. So he sat through the set and was kind of like, because I saw them at MDF, like not this year, but I think it was the year before, and they played like, it's basically the same kind of set, like mostly skronk stuff. And so my expectations were already appropriately tempered. But then yeah, they played three songs off Obscura, including the first track. So it was like, oh, it's great. So yeah, that was super cool to see them do that. But all in all, not really. Yeah, don't really have a lot to say about that.
Yeah. So So basically, after the way that Heavy Montreal is set up, there are 4 stages. There's the Canadian stage, which is the main stage. It just says Molson Canadian.
Right,
on it.
That was the thing. On the schedule, it said Canadian, and I was like, that's a weird name for a stage. But when we got there, you could see it said Molson Canadian. I was like, oh, okay, that makes a little more sense.
And the heavy stage, and those are the 2 biggest stages, and they're right next to each other. So like the main bands, it's just one after the other. They can set up while the other bands play.
Yeah, those stages, they're basically the same stage. Yeah. It's just right next to each other. And Gorguts played on the heavy stage.
Yeah. So, but then the other 2 stages are on the other side of the island, because the whole thing is in John Drapeau Park. And so you go to the other side of the island, and first, if you stop and like turn off into the woods, you come to the forest stage.
Wait, you mean if you turn off into the woods at the Druids?
Right, sorry, at the 4 ominous
across
Druids,
across from the pro wrestling ring.
Right. Wait,
there was a pro wrestling ring.
There was pro wrestling.
So you're gonna pass the pro wrestling ring on your left. You're gonna come to like the Druid pass.
The 4 Druids.
Right. And there you go right into the forest, where you come to La Scène de la Forêt, which literally translates to forest stage, which is so. I mean, there wasn't a tree growing out of the stage, but everything except that. Like there was one in like the security area behind the barrier growing like right in front of the stage.
And there was one basically in the fourth row.
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
a lot of trees.
Yeah,
there were
a lot of
definitely
trees. It was in the
limited.
forest.
There were definitely limited sight lines due to the number of trees.
Yeah. So then, and then the final stage, a little further, is a little more of a normal stage. It was called Scène de l'Apocalypse. So the apocalypse stage, which
Pretty metal.
yeah, pretty metal. So okay, so as soon as Gorguts was done, this other band starts playing, and it took us a minute to figure out who they were, mostly because their name is Anonymous, and but they're French Canadian, so it's Anonymus.
Right. Well, right. So they had this backdrop, but I was like, is that
The backdrop wasn't just like a big like devil head and shit. Like it didn't have a name on it.
right? But the thing was, the way we figured this out. Remember, they were
right.
all
Yeah, 'cause
wearing
they
the
were-
same shirt. So I saw the first dude was wearing it, and he was wearing a shirt, and it said Anonymous, and I was like, is that like this dude's gimmick, or is that some other band? Like, what's going on? And then I noticed that the other dudes were all wearing this shirt. Yeah, so
Yeah, and my only description of the band that I wrote down is French Canadian Death Punch.
Oh, right.
They basically sounded like Five Finger Death Punch, and they're French Canadian. So everything was in, which I this is one of these things where like I didn't really, put any forethought into this festival. I'm just gonna go to Canada and watch some metal bands. But like so many of the bands were French Canadian because Quebec loves metal.
So they were wearing their own band shirts.
Yes.
They were all
On stage,
wearing
they were
the
all wearing them.
same
See,
their band shirt.
usually that happens when you're like on tour and broke and you have merch, but
Yeah.
they're French Canadian. They're there.
right.
Like,
They
why?
didn't travel far.
Right. They just want to make sure that you know who they are, even though that's anonymous.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird, but my impression of these guys was like they really loved to play heavy metal. Like,
Yeah.
like they were like super stoked to be playing heavy metal. They were more power metal-y than like Five Finger Death Punch, but
Yeah,
it was right. I mean, they probably have the same fans.
Yeah.
Only they're more Canadian. I don't know. Do people in other countries listen to Five Finger Death Punch? Because they're like
I don't know.
They're like the U.S. military band. That's like their angle.
Yeah.
Is they're like, we support the troops. And if you go, no, so seriously, so I imagine people who listen to this podcast probably don't listen to Five Finger Death Punch, and that's probably prudent. If you go on YouTube and like watch any of their videos, read the comments. They're super weird.
Yeah.
They're all these people like, oh, I went to this Five Finger Death Punch show, and like they thanked me for my service, and like and then like, or like I told them about how my husband was deployed, and there's some weird stuff in there. Like I want to make this really clear. I'm not really trying to make fun of these people. I'm trying to say that there's just some, I feel like these stories are incomplete. Like there's this one woman when she was like, I told him that my husband was deployed, and she's like, and they let me hang out with them, and I'm just like, so
Yeah, we're gonna have to look into this. I mean, they're gonna either get an episode or be part of an episode because they're one of the metal bands that I really have never liked or understood.
yeah, no, and that would be good. There's actually some funny. I don't want to spoil it because we should do that episode. But I know some weird stuff about that band. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So
and one time the guitar player was at Sam Ash for some big thing, and he was like one of the most famous guys there. And
Seriously?
and they were giving away one of his signature guitar, which is basically like an
he has a
Explorer
signature guitar.
Yeah, it's an Explorer that's painted weird, something military themed. But also part of it is that like they took the pick guard off and like only like partially replaced it with stuff. So there's like this channel cut through the body of the guitar that's like kind
you
of
could see
partially covered by like a fake cable type thingy, but
Yeah.
not really. And so like the electronics are like partially exposed, and it's just an Explorer. So I don't know.
So the profit margins on that guitar are huge.
Oh yeah, well it's
Well,
a
on
Gibson.
all guitars.
It's a Gibson, so the profit margins are
Yeah,
huge.
already.
So we watched what, like 2 songs
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah,
And
we
then what did we do? I don't even remember.
We went to see Beyond Creation.
Oh, okay, they were next.
We did a little preview. Since we got there a day early and we didn't really have anything to do Thursday night, we did some previewing on YouTube to
Right,
familiarize ourselves and Jill with some of the bands.
Right, so I'd forgotten like when I saw the lineup and I made a schedule like who we were going to go see. I'd left these guys off because I'd forgotten their name. And then I was like, okay, I had some gaps like where there weren't any bands I wanted to see. So I went and checked them out and I was like, oh, I know this band. These guys are like super techie death metal, but I didn't realize they were Canadian. So of course they were going to be playing this fest. So yeah, I knew who they were. And then, I played this stuff for you guys on YouTube.
But
like
before you played it for me, like whenever I heard the name, I was like, oh, I've heard of these guys. They suck, because their name sounds like it was made by a band name generator, which only references a database of like unremarkable metal bands that I've heard of and suck.
No,
like
they sound like
Beyond. It's like the two words that have been like in so many band names, and you put them together, and it's like Beyond Creation. Yeah, sure, why not?
Well, no, they sound like they'd be playing prog power, and they'd be awful.
Exactly.
Yeah,
because they're like, I thought they were a prog power band that I had heard of, and was like, oh, every time I check those guys out, I'm like, who are they? Oh, that's right, they're terrible. But it's not that band. So just to be clear, these guys are actually awesome.
Yeah,
and
they're super brave.
We watched a video of theirs, which was entirely in the forest. There was no extra. It was just shot in the forest, them just playing.
But they had like mics and
Right.
gear
Except
and
there was
stuff.
mics in the forest,
So,
of course.
Like it combined several of my pet peeves. So one is I don't understand why bands are still making videos where like they pretend to play in the video. Like I just think that's super weird.
Yeah.
To begin with, and also it's sort of like that's sort of the default thing you do when you don't have any ideas. You're like, well, we can stand around and look like we're playing.
Yeah, just show how hard we rock out all the time.
Right, and at the same time, they're like listening to the CD, so it's
Right.
not even
And,
like
like,
it's not even
miming
like right, so it's not
rocking
even
super
super
hard.
heavy. It's just you're listening to the CD. So that's pet peeve number one. But then number two is when you do that and you play in some area where clearly these instruments aren't making any sound, right?
Yeah.
Like it's one thing if you're on stage or something, or you're in your practice space, but if you're in an abandoned warehouse, which is another popular one, or in this case, in the forest, it's like, why do you have a mic? You're pretending to sing. There's no PA. Why don't you just move your mouth? Why are you singing into a microphone? Do you not know how to move your mouth? There's not a mic in front of it. Like, so whatever. So, I mean, like, they're a metal band.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. You made a dumb video. Lots of bands have made dumb videos. We forgive them. It's just funny.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing when we did see them is they weren't playing the guitars from the video, which I looked up again, is actually a very recent video. So I guess they were just like headless guitars don't look as cool.
Or maybe they like own a million guitars.
Yeah.
Or maybe they got an endorsement. I don't know.
Yeah. But but when we actually saw them live, they were both playing Strandbergs, and they are a too many strings band. They do both play 8 strings.
They had 8 strings. The
And,
bass player had a
6 string
fretless.
fretless. Yeah.
No, but that's
Which he was really good though. He was one of the like highlights kind of the band.
Well, but it's that classic, like if you've ever listened to Obscura, the band named after Gorguts, it's like that totally stereotypical tech death, wow, like fretless bass tone. Like, I mean, dude had it down.
Yeah.
But no, but those Strandbergs, is it not the same one that you have?
It's the same one.
Yeah, it's the same one,
Yeah,
just
the
a different
US
color.
Yeah, the U.S. They were made in the U.S. the Washburn Custom Shop, although I think I heard that factory shut down, so I don't know if they're still being if you can even get those anymore. But
yeah,
I have one.
So these guys were super good.
awesome.
So it's probably talking about them is probably not in the spirit of this podcast.
We've talked about all the hilarious.
But we're missing the most hilarious part.
Right, of course.
The lead singer had a total hockey haircut. Like he had a wicked hockey mullet. Like it made me think. So I gotta give a shout out right now to another podcast, to my favorite podcast, the OSW review. So I don't know how many of our fans out. I mean, if you're listening to a podcast about a metal fest, you probably at some point in your life watched pro wrestling. And so the OSW reviews these 3 Irish guys, and they watch like old wrestling and just point out like how absurd it is, and it's fantastic. And there's this one part I don't even remember what episode it's in. I don't remember what they're watching. I don't remember who they're talking about, but they're talking about somebody's mullet, and it goes, and I'm gonna totally butcher their accent right now, but he goes, "That is a wrestler's haircut," and they're like, he's saying it like trying not to burst forth with laughter. So it has this weird cadence to it, and that's exactly what I thought when I saw this dude. I'm like, that is a wrestler's haircut. It was amazing, and like Jill actually, she didn't even realize what was going on because he has such long hair that at first you think he just has like crappy long hair, but then you notice there's kind of some bangs there. Like,
the front part stops around his eyebrows.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
So that was great. That was some
Yeah. So you
Canadian fashion.
You
for
should listen to Beyond Creation because they're pretty awesome. And
the second album
And the OSW podcast.
Yeah, definitely check out OSW Review. But Beyond Creation, I think the second album is the better one. Okay. But I think they're both worth listening to.
I found I was like, I had a feeling this is one of those bands that I randomly read a review. I follow Angry Metal Guy on like Facebook and Twitter because it's started by this dude Phil I went to college with, and we met in Swedish class, and he was the other metal guy, and we were like,
because of course you
sup
did.
Metal dude, because we were both just like, oh look, there's a metal dude. Sup metal dude. So we became friends, and well, because we were also both only taking Swedish because of metal bands, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Though he got really into it and like moved to Sweden, but
where he probably speaks English all the time.
Yeah. Although, well, he probably speaks Swedish because he likes it, you know. And people are like, "Yo, man, you know, I know English fine. We can just talk." And he's like, "Yeah, hur mår du?" But like, yeah, man, it's cool, whatever. But so he has this website, Angry Metal Guide. It's a good review site because he's got a bunch of people reviewing it, and so like in general, I think music reviews are an iffy proposition. But if you're gonna have them, like the only way to do it is to be like honest and be aware when you're like, this is what I like and don't like, and this is part of why I reviewed this way. So some of the reviews are really good, and at least, you know, they're like honest and not like shilling for anybody, because I'm pretty sure they're not making any money. But
right, there's line those metal labels lying in our pockets.
Yeah,
got all that metal label money.
Yeah, like they get paid and they get to hear stuff. Although it sounds like a lot of cases it's not such a great benefit, because they're like, oh man, if I have to listen to one more grind album. But I looked it up, and they reviewed both Beyond Creation albums, and the first one was some like second place of the year when it came out or whatever.
Oh, really?
And
it's
then
2011.
Yeah,
I don't remember what else came out in 2011.
And they gave the second one not as good a review, but it was one of those things where they're like, the first one was so good that of course this couldn't live up to it. But I wouldn't be surprised if you were right, and I like the second one better, because usually, even if it's similar to the same kind of thing, it's like more refined probably, and a little more.
When you're playing tech like that, I mean, usually these bands get tighter.
Yeah,
you know, because it's not easy.
Yeah. So anyways, that Beyond Creation is cool. You should check them out. They're not bad, except their hair and video. Yeah. So
everybody gets one.
Couple of little things. So they were on the forest stage, which was great because their video is in the forest. So it was like being in their video.
Only the mics did something.
Yeah. And
they actually had fewer amps at the fest.
Yeah.
Because they were playing Axe-Effects, so they were straight into the PA.
I got a good look at their rack. It was just Axe-Effects and a bunch of wirelesses.
Yeah, so more hilariousness. Yeah. Actually less gear at the real show than the fake one in the forest.
Yeah, and a random observation I wrote down is that there was a ridiculous amount of crowd surfing during their set. There was one point where, like, the first time of the weekend, their security is great. Well, first of all, it's true that the vast majority of people in Canada are nicer and seem less miserable about their jobs. In this case, the security guys, like the first time I saw a guy crowd surfing, and the security guy just like caught him, like cradling him like a child, and like walked, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. And he just like reached out and caught him like so nicely, and then you know, get the fuck out of here. But then like it kept happening, and there was one point where it was like an assembly line of people being passed from the crowd to the security guards, and they're catching them like
Canada's crowd surfing is very efficient.
Yeah,
is what Matt's trying to say.
I mean, it was weird, because for a second I was like, do we all have to go? Like, are we just the whole crowd just gonna cycle out? Like, but anyway, so that was just a random observation.
Well, so I gotta talk about the crowd surfing for a sec, though. I've never seen so many people crowd surf at a fest or anywhere, any show, with backpacks on.
Oh, yeah.
That was like,
What?
yeah, no, it was super weird.
Yeah.
Like, and there were a couple people who were crowd surfing like it was going out of style or like it was their job.
Yeah.
Like there was this one woman, she had blue hair.
Oh, yeah.
But she was like clearly like either late 30s or she'd done a lot of stuff to accelerate her aging. I don't know. But she wasn't like 16, like the age where like you could have blue hair and just whatever, you're 16. So and she was like super tan and had like these leather pants, you know, that were like lace up. They were super crazy and like these and then the other day she was wearing fishnets and these like tiny shorts. But she would literally like crowd surf and then you'd see, you know, you go over the rail, then they make you walk all the way around, and then like you'd be up crowd surfing like 30 seconds later. You're like, you ran back so that you could like crowd surf again.
This is not a water park, okay? You don't line up.
No, that's totally that's what I'm saying. It was like I gotta
back
do this
online. I'm gonna go again.
many
She wanted
times
to
as
get
I
felt
can.
up. I mean,
No,
that's-
dude, I
Well,
actually did say that
yeah.
later. I was like, because she did this during so many bands. I was like, I think she just likes being touched by strange men. But she wasn't the only, like, she was probably the most prolific and also most noticeable because of her like crazy outfit. But there was so much crowd surfing, so many people crowd surfing with backpacks. But the fourth stage, like, then that one dude climbed the tree.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So the tree that was like right there, it's like house right stage left. It's just barely to the side of the stage. Like, it's totally right there. And some random guy, like, because you were like, you know, somebody's gonna climb the tree, and then sure enough, dude climbs the tree. He's up there, must have had a great view of the stage, but he's like throwing horns, headbanging, whatever. And then I didn't see this, but you or Jill or somebody told me like security was like tried to get him down, or they're like, you need to get down, like.
I don't know. I didn't
Okay,
see.
yeah, I didn't see the security intervention, but so I guess it was either Jill or Raul was saying like, they were like, yeah, you got to get out of the tree, and so I mean, he got out pretty quick, but it was just
What's
pretty
the
funny.
penalty though? Like Juggalo jail?
Well, there was no Juggalo jail, despite the fact that the fest did have pro wrestling.
I'm trying to see. I could have swore I took a picture of that guy.
This was a maggot fest, not a Juggalo ninja fest.
I have a pic. Somewhere I have a picture. Okay. So if you, I'll post the pictures on the. Yeah, I got that, dude. I'll post the pictures on the Facebook page.
Oh my
but
gosh.
also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's the One True Matt, just spelled out TheOneTrueMatt, the One True Matt, on Instagram and Twitter. And I posted a bunch of pictures already, and I'll make sure I have all the other relevant ones up after the podcast. Do you want people to follow you on Instagram as well?
No, we're gonna talk about my Instagram later.
Okay.
When we talk about our favorite 80s band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I know what's coming.
So after Beyond Creation, we went to, I think, get food and chill a minute.
Went back to
Arch Enemy was playing.
the heavy stage.
Yeah, Arch Enemy was playing. We weren't really like I wanted to hear Arch Enemy because I don't plan on doing it again. But
Right, they're one of those bands that they exist.
right, okay, yeah. So Arch Enemy is one of those bands where if you like Arch Enemy, that's cool. I don't, but like, cool for you.
Right, but they're not offensively bad.
Right.
You're just like, why would you listen to this? Because there's other bands that you could listen
Yeah.
to that are like a million times
Yeah,
better.
I get why they're popular now because they're straightforward. They're death metal, but
no, they
straightforward
because
death
they have
metal.
harsh vocals.
Right. It's, well, okay. So I had this weird thing where like I didn't listen to anything extreme for a long time, and then when I started to, I realized a bunch of death metal bands weren't that crazy or fancy or even aggressive. They just had harsh vocals.
Good.
And Arch Enemy is one of those bands where I was like, if you took these away, like a lot of this, just straight up butt rock, but like, so just have Don, swap Alyssa White Glues and Don Dokken, and he might not know
amazing.
that he's not in the right band.
No, and this is a really good point because I think like one of the first of all, Arch Enemy is like the revolving door of band members.
Yes.
And currently, this is one of these things I knew but I forgot. It was that Jeff Loomis is currently in the band.
Yes.
Right. So that I feel like that was a big part of the draw. but it was like whammy bar central. Like everything was like, it was so
Right.
80s, dude.
Every 30 seconds, we just hear, and we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we were like, what decade is this?
And once in a while, you would hear a little, like, he would have like 15 seconds to really loomis it up. Because he also can't overdo it because it's not Nevermore or his solo stuff. It's Arch Enemy, so it kind of has to
super
remotely
straightforward.
fit.
Yeah.
Right. So he still works it in because obviously that's what they hired him for. But it's so like, and diminish arpeggios. Okay, back to the song.
Right,
Like,
yeah. The solo has to be like 8 bars tops.
Yeah. But I'll fit all those notes in.
No, but it's one of these things, right? Like I feel like this band is so weird to me because they're like a huge deal. They're playing the stage, like tons of people know and whatever. But how they got there is so random because they're like we said, they're not really very good. And I feel like my overall impression of Arch Enemy forever was pedestrian. Like they're just this forgettable band that just sound totally middle of the road. And then it seemed like once they got a female singer, it was like this huge gimmick, right? Because they're like, it's harsh vocals, like super brutal, but it's a woman. And you're like, okay. And it wasn't even, and there wasn't, like, I can understand if a bunch of metalheads are like, because you got to understand, there was, back when this happened, this was still when like metal was pretty dead, and definitely no women that I knew were listening to metal. And so you'd be like, oh man, like there's this girl and she's into metal. Like that's amazing. Like I want to marry this girl. But she wasn't that cute. Like, so I don't, you can't just label the appeal, right? It's not like when you watch wrestling and you're like, you know, these girls don't know how to wrestle, but man, they look great. Right? Like it's like, so it was, but it was just like, that was enough of a gimmick, or metal dudes were so desperate. Like that like totally launched them.
But it was also one of these confusing things where at the same time people would be like it's a chick, but she's so good at it, you don't even know it's a chick. And I'm like, what? Then what's the point? Like, why is it?
Then why are you popular now? Like, why didn't they just toil in obscurity?
Right.
And it's because people bought into it. They were so like, oh man, there's this girl in this metal band. And then it was Angela Gossow. Right?
Yeah, Angela Gossow.
And then she left, and I don't even know why she left, because I don't care about this band.
Yeah.
I feel like there was probably some news on, Blabbermouth or something. And now, they stole the girl from
the Agonist,
which we will talk about in a minute.
It's funny because the first time I heard about her was because she was doing one of those guest things with Camelot. Which
I'm glad I missed that.
Yeah, no, she was filling in. She did both like the Simone from Epica parts and also the Shagrath parts on a couple Camelot songs. Where those were the guests, Shagrath and Simone from Epica. So she went between the melodic parts and the.
Are we gonna have an episode about Camelot? Because that band
We can
definitely
totally do an episode about Camelot.
They were so bad.
Because I've enjoyed Camelot, but I'm not going to argue with you about them either. Because I can.
Like the next episode, actually.
We can totally do a Camelot, but and I and it's great because I can be the counterpoint. Like I know everything good there is to say about Camelot, and I know exactly where it
so
ends.
we can have a little face-off segment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so she got hired by Arch Enemy, and because that's the thing that I find fascinating too, is like, not to take anything away from Angela Gossow and how like basically now that's a thing you can do, right? Now you can be a girl and be like, I'm gonna growl and scream and be in a metal band, and that's great. Not that you couldn't before, but people didn't realize it. It was it's one of those things where like, oh, somebody did it. Now we can do that.
Well,
it's okay.
Here's the thing.
And there's a market. There's a market. Yeah.
The thing, and this is totally related and super frustrating though. So at the fest was the best female growler ever. So our friend Angela. So she had this band. They were originally called Misogynist, I think, and then they changed the name to, ironically, I don't know. Whatever. She was totally cool with it. I remember when they wanted to change the name, and she's like, no, like keep the name. I'm totally cool.
Great collapse.
Yeah, they changed the name to Great Collapse.
They were great.
So I think like 12 people have heard this album, which is a shame because it's awesome. So I have no idea how you might find this or get a hold of it, but I don't know. Everything seems to be on the internet. So yeah, you should, if you want to hear a death metal band and that happens to be fronted by a woman and is super awesome, The Great Collapse. They were a Canadian band, and so yeah, we saw her at the festival, and she did. This is another thing that I love at Metal Fest that I've been seeing lately. So Angela has 2 small children. And she brought them with her. and like, so she was very easy to find because she had a very large double stroller, her and her husband. And the one kid was in the stroller, and then the other one was on her back. And I remember, like, we hung out with her for, I don't know, like 20 minutes. And that whole time people kept being like taking pictures and stuff. Like, everyone was like, this is amazing. Like, these little kids are at the Death Metal Festival. And like, but the thing is, in Canada, like it just seems way less out of place.
Yeah,
because people do this at MDF, and there you're like, whoa, you're like, you have children in Baltimore, like that's forget the fact that you're at a death metal festival. It's like you brought small children to Baltimore. But then they're at a death metal festival. They're just amping it up, and like the police helicopters are circling over because that's what happens in Baltimore. But
totally an Angela thing to do, by the way.
Yeah, right. Oh, right. Well, I mean, she was like, yeah, no, it was super cool. It was great getting to see Angela. But yeah, if you're, I guess my point is, if you're an Arch Enemy fan and you're really mad for how we just totally slammed this band, what you should do is instead go listen to Great Collapse and then be really glad you listened to this because that band is amazing.
And at the very least, I know they made a video, so that should be on YouTube.
Oh,
so if you search
right.
YouTube for The Great Collapse, you'll find.
They do have that one video, and it's awesome. There, I think there is some pretend playing of instruments in it. But there is other stuff.
But there's at least a narrative concept outside of that.
Also,
because at least when you cut back to the band playing, because it's an established trope, that's one thing, but when the entire video is just the
also, so there is a part where Angela is out in nature. It's not a forest, it's like a garden, and she's singing. It's not into a microphone. So mad props to them for that.
Exactly.
It's amazing. So anyway, we ended up watching Arch Enemy from listening from some picnic tables on the other side of the side of the fence.
We made sure to get a look before they finished.
Yeah,
I just didn't want to be like, well, I heard Arch Enemy, but I didn't see him. But I mostly saw Loomis messing with his whammy bars, so
there was that. So then I think I know what's next. What was next?
What
was next?
Well,
Matt?
we went and took a seat on the grass and heard the loudest band of the festival.
I forgot. This band was definitely like by far the loudest band there, and it wasn't Manowar wasn't playing, but it wasn't Manowar.
Right.
It wasn't any of the death metal bands either.
And keep in mind, this is immediately following Arch Enemy. So Arch Enemy stops, and immediately to their left, Extreme comes on, and
so for those of you who don't know, because I feel like some of our listeners may not have been alive.
Are they like a really extreme metal band?
They are not super extreme. They are like an 80s butt rock band that is not extreme at all, but I guess like for the 80s, maybe.
They were one of those bands that, even though most of their stuff was like funky rock and butt rock, their big hit was the ballad. And I don't like, people say they had other hits. I disagree, because
I'm with you on
until
that.
far later. I'm like, yeah, but their other hit. Like, no, I never heard of any other Extreme song until like a decade after Extreme was relevant.
No, but even like the ones that like, because they had some stuff that like a lot of that wasn't popular that I know like a lot of music nerd people like 3 Sides to Every Story.
Right.
Who like, that's such a great album. I'm like, really? It's not.
Yeah.
But it's one of those deals. It's like, who like. No one
their,
heard it.
Their super fetishized guitar player was Nuno Betancourt.
Right. He was another one of these dudes who had like a signature model, and tons of people were all about it. I mean, you're like, he's just another
he's
guitar
good.
player.
But yeah, then I went and like tried to listen to Extreme, and I was like, no thanks. But the other interesting, so other claims to fame. So first of all, More Than Words is their big hit. So now you probably know who the hell we're talking about. The singer Gary Cherone was briefly the third and least welcome singer in Van Halen. And Nuno Betancourt, for a few years, was Rihanna's touring guitar player because he got a paycheck probably from that. And so he was like, sweet, it's like I get paid to work. And but he recently left, and I guess to reunite with Extreme
so he could
see them
Canadian metal festivals.
And So Extreme was the loudest.
They were so loud,
So fucking loud.
We were like, so there's,
And they're like a 4-piece, right?
Here's the thing: so there's a huge standing area, and then there's like a bunch of picnic tables, and then behind that there's a hill. So we're all the way back on the hill, and I have my plugs in.
Yeah.
There were a lot of bands where we were like up front, and I didn't have my plugs in. We're all the way back, and I have my plugs in because this band is so loud.
And there are like 3 layers of PA. So when you get back there, it's like you get all of them. But even so, it was like the levels were inconsistent.
Their time, that was just so that there's not like a slapback.
Right.
Like they clearly had programmed it so that the sound would be good everywhere. It's not that we were getting an aggregate PA. Because we were back there for other bands where I didn't have my plugs in.
Yeah. So like there was basically there was just this like inverse correlation between the volume of the band and the appropriate volume of the band. Because
we'll talk about that later too. We'll talk about that when we get there. But Extreme were way too loud. They were extremely loud. And they played their hit. Let's just talk about that.
So in the middle, right, like dead in the middle of their set, they're like, I think it was Nuno, but I could have been Gary. I couldn't really. They're so far away.
Off guard.
Yeah.
You know, at the time
I saw it coming. I was
happened?
like, oh, they're doing it.
It's like, what just happened?
So they're like, so there's some spiel about how some people said we probably shouldn't play this at a metal festival like this at Heavy because it's not heavy enough. But you know what? You can go fuck yourself. and like all I know is like Rich suddenly was like, what did he say? This is the you can go fuck yourself song. I'm like, no, they're gonna do it. And he's like, what? So I stand up because I want to videotape this.
Yeah, unfortunately we missed the spiel though.
Right, but I did get most of it.
We were caught off guard. I was very caught off guard by the spiel.
Yeah,
but regardless, so they give the spiel and then Matt starts recording.
So they start playing. So, Nuno comes out with an acoustic guitar and they start doing the spiel. And then when they started off, Gary Sharon is immediately like, you know this one, sing the words. And for the verse. So they start playing. But the problem with More Than Words is that nobody knows all the lyrics to the verse.
Well, no.
You always start off like, say that, and then you think you know what and then like you're like, there are no other words in the song. No. And it's called More Than Words. So appropriately, you should not remember the words. They are not relevant. They're about how there shouldn't be words in the song.
And this is one of those things that people don't realize how prolific this is until you go to karaoke and you try to sing a song that you're like, yeah, I think I know that song. And then you're like crutched the whole time by the words. Like you don't realize how few pop songs that you remember the verse to.
Right.
And this is definitely one of those where you don't remember the verse. Gary Sharon didn't get that memo.
So I feel like in addition to missing your starting point by giving it to the audience, who also are probably like, dude, we don't know the verses to this fucking song. He's like,
even if they did, they probably weren't pumped to sing along.
Right. So then he so he clearly like loses his place. And then Nuno stops to be like, were you going to like start singing at some point or whatever? So I started recording.
It's at that point you sort of realize like Gary Sharon may not know the verse. Like that he might have been hoping that the crowd was going to carry him.
Right.
Which it's like,
hey guys, how does the song start again? You go.
If you have one hit and you're the singer for a band, like you can't afford to forget that shit.
Yeah. So I start recording in the very brief gap where nobody's playing. But then Nuno starts playing again and you hear Gary try to jump in. So okay, I'll just play that now. And then they play More Than Words. But yeah, I was glad I at least caught that little bit where it was like, say that, like that. I've heard that happen in karaoke like many times.
What?
So far, I haven't missed much from this fest.
No, this was all terrific and entertaining. You realize?
Yeah. No. I mean, that was the thing. Like, Jill's not that metal, and she was just like, a metal fest. That sounds amazing.
It reminds me of what used to be great about Prog Power when half of the bands were amazing, with less broad appeal, but amazing bands that
you
weren't going to see anywhere
you weren't
else.
going to see anywhere else, and you were like, holy shit, I finally get to see this band. And then the other half of the bands, you were like, this is hilarious.
You're like, these guys take this seriously.
Yeah.
Like, they practiced this.
Right.
Then they went somewhere, they paid money to record it. And then other people paid money to hear it.
Yeah.
And then paid money to show up here and watch it. This is really happening.
We're talking about Diablo Swing Orchestra, right? 'Cause
I don't even remember. Did I
the
go that
worst.
year? I don't even remember
Probably
that.
not.
I'm talking about Circus Maximus.
yeah.
I'm talking about Gamma Ray, Secret Sphere.
Secret Sphere
there
was really
Many,
bad.
yeah.
Any
Well, I
number
slept.
of
I fell
bands
asleep
that have played
during.
Prague Power.
I fell asleep during Secret Sphere set. Like, there's so many bands there I just fell asleep or didn't
I
watch.
fell asleep during Riverside.
That's
I
a,
definitely fell asleep
it's
during
very,
Riverside.
Very sleepable band.
And they're playing this year, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to make it through that set.
I'm going.
And I will be doing a live with a 2-week delay from Prague Power podcast.
Are you the only one going?
Out of us,
Out
yeah.
of the three of us
Well,
here,
I mean,
yes.
Out of anyone that matters, you're the only one.
anyone that matters.
Yeah.
All you plebes at Prague Power.
Yeah. Just so you know,
You're
if you're listening to this and
insignificant.
if you're planning to go to Prague Power, you don't matter unless you're me.
Sorry, Milton.
Uh,
You're listening.
yeah. So, okay. So Extreme was not, and
They were not extreme except in volume
Yes.
level and in supposed ashamedness. I don't know.
And we went to see. Oh, this is when we actually, I think, met up with Angela because we went to see Veil of Maya at the Apocalypse stage.
Yeah, so there was a lot of our who we should see. So first, like, I made a list of like everyone we wanted to see, and then I filled it in with everyone that was going to be hilarious, like Extreme, like
Yeah.
we knew was pure comedy. And then there was a bunch of like, well, this is the least terrible thing going on right now. And so Veil of Maya kind of fell into that because they have some cool riffs, but it's one of like I never sat down and been like, man, I want to listen to Veil of Maya.
Yeah.
But it's like
They're a
whatever.
total gen stick.
Right?
band.
Yeah, they're totally genty.
Yeah. Oh,
and,
there's no gent stick to the max.
right, and that was the thing. Like right, and similarly, much like Extreme and Arch Enemy, it's like if I'm at a festival and there's this band like. And I'm curious because they're popular. Because that's the thing. Veil of Maya is one of those bands where a lot of people in the gent be
There
like,
were tons of Veil of Maya shirts.
Yo, you
Tons.
you know like Veil of Maya, and I'm like, no, I don't know, but cool. But now I've heard them, and so now it's that's changed meaning for me now. Because next time someone's like, yo, you know Veil of Maya, I'm like, oh, I know Veil of Maya.
You're like, I saw them
Yeah.
in Canada.
Holy shit, were they bad? Well,
they
okay,
were-
no.
they were
Let me
fine.
correct
They're the
it.
most
They're
middle
gent.
of the road.
They were
They're
gent.
gent as fuck. But that's the thing. They're so gent that I can't like them because they sort of appropriately fit the criteria for gent to be genty, which is that okay, the vocalist, okay, the clean singing was awful, like
Yeah,
really,
that was
bad.
really bad.
It was like, because you know how basically whether or not someone can actually sing now to most people is a surprise when you see a band live. That's the fun part of the 21st century is surprise.
Fun.
You don't know what
unless
this
you're-
person sounds
Unless you're
like.
at a Soilwork concert and you're unpleasantly, extremely disappointed
Yeah.
that dude can't sing.
So, right. So this guy was like, oh, okay. But then his Extreme stuff too was the other thing where it's like,
It's his extreme stuff.
alternate
his harsh stuff.
his harsh stuff, alternate between low and high. It was like, but like in extremely predictable, measured fashion. Low, 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 high, high.
Hey,
high,
he just been listening to a lot of Tchaikovsky. He had the antiphonal thing in his mind.
Sure, I'm sure that's what it was.
I'm positive.
Yeah.
We'll have him on the show.
Yeah. So okay,
We'll
if you
ask.
like gent, they're probably not bad, but I
is gent.
did not care for them.
They're the this is gent.
This is
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
Jen.
it was def. Yeah.
It's a little inside joke for that no one will get.
right.
But
Until in like 100 episodes, everyone will get it.
this is Jen.
Yeah.
You gotta
This
plant
is-
that seed now, guys.
This is a podcast.
Yeah. So just start, repeating it like you understand, and by the time that other people do, you'll be super cool. That's all I wrote down for Veil of Maya. was that I
because
hated
we
the
spent the whole
singer.
time talking to Angela.
Right.
Like,
Well,
but I wasn't
no,
paying attention.
I paid enough attention to be
Oh,
like,
I wasn't.
Note to self: don't listen to this band again.
I was watching her kid smear ice cream cone like all over her face, which was hilarious.
Yeah, that's yeah. But like my thing, like it's like a lot of gent.
it just I hear the sort of randomness of it, and I'm like waiting for it to coalesce into a song, and it's like,
and it never does.
No, that's not what we do here. But yeah, so we kind of saw Vela Maya, but and then after Vela Maya was Meshuggah, which I don't have any notes on because I don't need to because they were Meshuggah.
I have tons. I have tons of stuff to say about Meshuggah. I have tons.
Well, yeah, I have things to say. I just didn't write them down. The main thing is,
how was the sound?
As we were about to establish, they were the most inappropriately not loud band.
No, there were several bands that were not loud enough. But to illustrate Matt's point, the in between songs, the crowd, we were all chanting "Turn it up."
Yeah,
because again, Meshuggah's like part of the. In my opinion, Meshuggah is the best band touring today, and part of that is because when you go see them, it's like this overwhelming something. It's very difficult to quantify. But part of that is due to just being like enveloped, like surrounded by what's going on. It doesn't really work when you're not that loud. Like it's usually this totally crushing heavy thing, and it just wasn't loud, and everyone knew it.
Yeah.
And we were literally between songs chanting "Turn it up," and I don't think they ever did.
No, well, so what I noticed happened was there was like the first song was extra quiet because there was some technical issue,
right?
And
he said that.
Yeah,
after the first song, he's like, "I'm sorry, we're having some technical difficulties." But then it wasn't like then it was loud. It was just less terribly. Right. I'm destroying Matt's studio.
Something got fixed, but it was better, but it was still way too quiet.
So exasperated by the Meshuggah situation, I had to lash out and break your studio.
So they, but the thing was, and so I could have swore that something got fixed and it was a little better, but then that was it. And for like the entire set, almost like even like before the last song, people were still like, "Turn it up," because they were like, "Well, we can't really do anything more," but clearly no one was paying attention up in the.
Yeah, so that was unfortunate, and so you kind of had to just look past that. So then, I'm not sure where you guys were. So we were standing up near the front because I had before the show made a decision to mosh during Meshuggah. So that's what I did, and then I didn't see you guys the rest of the time. I did see that girl that we talked about earlier with the blue hair and the lace up leather pants. This really was the set where she was crowd surfing like it was her job. So Jill made some observation. She was like, "Yeah, that girl went up like 5 times." I'm like, no. I personally pushed her to the front 5 times. And I saw her go a ton more times. Like it was like she crowd surfed like 20 times during their set. But so yeah, I like mosh the whole time. The set list was good. Like they played Bleed, which you got to play, right? It was really killer. I don't really, aside from the volume thing, I don't really have too many complaints. The thing was at the during the very last song, I got kicked in the back of the head. Like, and again, I'm not complaining because it's a mosh pit. Like these, you know what you're getting into. But it was just, I couldn't see it coming. I got kicked in the back of the head, and it was like, and then you guys were all like, "Do you have a concussion?" I'm like, "No, I do not have a concussion." And you're like, "Don't go to sleep. You're not gonna." I'm like, "Well, except I don't have a concussion, so it's fine." Like I just took a bunch of Tylenol and I was fine. Like,
I also have this thing where like, and I'm sure it's confirmation bias, but I feel like anytime I'm at a very moshable show, the mosh pit forms immediately surrounding me. So like this was, and this happened at Meshuggah and it's happened at other shows, but specifically I noticed at Meshuggah, there was one dude who was like, "I will be the first to mosh." The second they started, he like charges, and who does he charge into? Me. So he charges like through and past me, and I'm like, but I was ready. I was like prepared, right? Because this has happened. The first time I remembered happening, I was at an Iron Maiden show, and the entire crowd like surged, and I was just like lifted like a wave of people, and I was like, fuck. So ever since then, whenever any like major metal show starts, and I'm like in the middle of the crowd, I'm like, all right, get ready, because that asshole's gonna be right behind me. And there was some dude, while we were waiting for them to come on, because they also started late, that gigantic dude was like, "Meshuggah, Meshuggah," like when nobody else was yelling. Just this one guy was just like,
Meshuggah, right? He was right behind me. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Do not mosh me. You are huge. I am not. Do not in any way mosh me when this shit starts. So I was watching that guy, but then some little dude was just like fucking just charged through the crowd.
You gotta find those guys and take them out early.
Yeah, Eric, you're also like twice the size of us.
Yeah, but also, no, I can't
No, anybody can do it. There's this old skinhead move.
No, I can take him out and then get like thrown out of the festival for hurting somebody.
This was
top of their spine,
this was Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
The rules are different.
And there was no security around. You heard what happened to Kim, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, no, there was no security around at that incident. There was security everywhere.
Yeah.
Just right. So I don't want to get thrown out because I like preemptively took out like, I'm watching you, buddy. Take you down.
Be like, I was ready to mosh. So then I gotta mention one other thing. So when I was in the pit, before I got kicked in the back of the head, I went down once in the pit, which like maybe there was grass there at some point, but it was completely like just mud and rocks by the time Meshuggah were playing. Also, it was super dirty because they had this fire hose that at the two main stages they turned on during like the mosh pits. But I think the first time we were either this happened or we saw it was for Meshuggah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So it's totally drenched. So now it's like you're on this muddy ground. So I fell down in the mud, totally like ruined my shirt, which is fine, whatever. I wore Macho Man Randy Savage t-shirt because it's bright yellow. Because we're in another country where my phone doesn't have service. Yeah. So I told everyone, I'm like, if you want to find me, I'm going to be the dude wearing a bright yellow shirt amongst all the black t-shirts. And it worked. People found me. But so I went down and I busted open my elbow. And today, like, I think it's infected because right before I came over here, like I hadn't really thought about it. I was like, whatever. So, but right before I came over here, I took a shower and then I looked and I was like, oh, there's like stuff in there. And I'm immediately reminded of the, I think it was Robot Chicken, right?
Yeah.
Where they're like, does this look infected to you?
Yeah.
Be like, I'm not a doctor. No one here is a doctor.
So as soon as you arrive at my apartment, you're like, does this look infected to you?
And then so even though like I had dirt all over the back of my and I could not wash it out. I tried washing the shirt twice. So even though I got dirt all over the back of my shirt, it's okay because I got blood all over the front of it. The good news was I'm pretty sure that was all my own blood. So I don't know, but so I don't know. That's the first time I've literally bled at a Meshuggah pit. But it was fun. It should have been louder.
Yeah.
And
so I worked my way out of the pit because it formed around me, and so I gradually was like, just by virtue of like avoiding people, was moving backwards, which actually helped a little because there was one point where the sound got a little better because I was at like the point where the
right in the field of the mains.
Right, right, exactly. And so that was a little bit, and I was like, okay, good, because I want to hear it and not have people run into me. But it's hard in a Meshuggah crowd because even if there's not like the pit, like that kind of crowd, you wherever you go, some dude's like, no, this is the pit.
You were forced to rock.
Forced to rock, yes. But yeah, no, but that was unfortunate that their sound wasn't great. But there's the other interesting thing, which requires a slight too many strings detour, is one of the I
wasn't gonna bring this up, but
oh yeah, well I mean
you can bring it up. It's totally cool.
I'll keep it short and then like we'll go into more detail on another podcast because I probably want to do like a too many strings episode. But one of the sort of controversial, it's not so much controversial in like, okay, so there's this thing called true temperament frets, and they're squiggly frets that are supposed to more perfectly allow you to more perfectly tune the instrument because the guitar is inherently imperfect in its tuning, but it does it through such a weird process that it costs like $1,500 to get a neck made with it, which means
it solves a problem no one had.
Right.
And anyone who knows anything about tuning theory knows that the Western tuning system is badly out of tune with the harmonic series.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what they're trying to accomplish other than making the guitar really expensive.
Right. So you're more perfectly tuning an already imperfect tuning system. But the real sort of and actually Rich like was the first one to really clearly point this out to me and give me a specific reference to the theory behind it. And I was like, oh yeah, no, this makes perfect sense. Yeah, this is bullshit. So good. So I don't need to buy one of those. And but the interesting thing about this particular Meshuggah show was that Frederick Thordendahl has been going like back and forth on some of his guitars, and the newest version is his I think it's called Stone Man. It's kind of like an Iceman meets a Fireman meets an Explorer kind of thingy. And it has squiggly frets now.
Squiggly frets.
And I was like, oh my God, he has squiggly frets. And then afterwards I realized, but Martin Hagstrom didn't have squiggly frets. Therefore, okay, so either they should have somehow been out of tune with each other because one of them is more perfectly in tune than the other, or
it doesn't matter.
Or it doesn't matter.
Because you know what they sounded like? They sounded like Meshuggah. Right. No noticeable difference from the last time I saw them other than the shitty festival sound.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just a side note on squiggly frets, and we'll get into more detail on another podcast when we talk about 8 strings and 9 strings and too many strings. Too many strings.
Too many strings.
So then I don't know if we actually saw Alexis on fire.
Well, no. So what happened was, okay, so I had just gotten kicked in the head. Right. And I was also exhausted because it's basically like, it's like going to kickboxing class, basically, right? So we went and we sat on the benches so I could like recover, and Alex is on Fire was playing, you know, the heavy stage on the other side of the because the big there's a bunch of picnic tables, but the ones that are closest to where you can actually purchase food are on the other side of like this fence. Yeah. So yeah, we hung out there and like sort of heard them, and I don't have too many memories other than that they were really terrible.
Well, and like on the poster for the fest, their name is actually Alexis.
Well, no, damn it. I was going to say, if you want to debate the name with us,
right,
you should send some hate mail.
Right. So okay.
Matt, what's that address?
It's hatemail@yourmusicisbad.com. And you should let us know if you're a fan of either Alex is on fire or Alexis is on fire.
No, Alexis on fire.
Alexis on fire.
If you just want to insert 2 more letters into their name.
Yeah. So
how many metal bands are named On Fire? Like,
I don't know. Many. But they were. This band is a I Wrestled a Bear Once band where there's no spaces in the name.
Right. So and that was the thing. And also on the poster especially, we were just like, so is this Alexis or Alex is on fire?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Alexis because I heard some dude who was like, we gotta go watch Alexis on Fire. I'm like, if your goal was to watch this band, you probably know what their name is, as opposed to us where we were just like, who? Like, what?
And then it just became, let's see if we can go around saying Alex is on fire so that somebody hears us and says, hey, man. And you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Alex is on fire.
Yeah, that was not a thing that we did.
No. And then, okay, so the only other band on the first day was Korn, which kind of, so here's the thing with Korn. First of all, I'm not a particularly big fan of Korn, but they're one of those bands where I understand that, like...
Actually, well, you totally actually skipped over a bunch of stuff.
On the first day?
Yeah.
Well, maybe you have notes on stuff I don't have.
Yeah. Well, so we were going to go see Obscura, and then we found out that they weren't playing.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, well, they had a whole thing, like they it's not that their visas got denied. They got granted, and then they never showed up. So they lost a ton of money because they booked, like they were supposed to play on, I guess, Mayhem Fest or one of the other Warped Tour. I think it was Mayhem. I don't remember. And so they had already like rented gear in a van and stuff, and so they lost a bunch of money on that. And so they didn't play. I think Augury took their place, and who I wanted to go watch, but I just been kicked in the head and that's pretty tired. So we just hung out at the picnic table. And then after some recovery, Neurosis played the Apocalypse stage. And we went over there, and here's the thing. So we just saw Neurosis, or I just saw Neurosis at MDF. So but the thing was they weren't as good. Like the show at MDF was really good.
They were amazing.
Yeah, the show at the set at Heavy Montreal, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't that heavy. Ironically, it wasn't that heavy. It was more, and like I don't know. I didn't really care. I've never been a huge Neurosis fan, but I have seen them live a number of times, and it's when they're doing their more like heavy wall of soundy kind of thing, like that's really cool. But I don't know, they played some tunes, man. And it was really weepy. It was kind of like, I felt kind of like they were just like a heavy version of The Cure. Like they played all those songs.
Yeah, my only thought was the sleepy metal.
Right. See, Matt actually forgot that they played.
Right. And when you mentioned, I was like, oh, Neurosis, so the sleepy metal band. Yeah.
Yeah. So but whatever, they were fine. And then they were done. And then, or actually, we didn't stay to the end because Korn started like in the middle of their set. Yeah. And so then we went over to watch Korn on the main stage. Yeah.
So Korn. Okay. So
do we want to mention that it was a special set? Yeah. So this was like Korn's 20th anniversary or something.
20th anniversary
of the first album, which is if you're not a Korn fan, it's the self-titled album Korn. And so they were playing that album in almost its entirety. Right. Almost its entirety, which we'll get to in a second. But so they were playing the first album, and so I know this album pretty well.
Okay, so
but Matt had never you've never
heard
it.
Okay, all I know, I've only heard Korn based on like their hits and stuff. Like I've never gone out of my way to listen to more Korn.
So like Freak on a Leash,
right?
And like Shoots and Ladders. What was that? Got the Life.
Why are you so familiar with this first album?
I know a lot of stuff.
Okay,
so because you're from the Midwest?
Because I'm from Missouri.
Yeah, I'm also from the Midwest. But what?
I feel like everyone from the Midwest like knows that whole Korn album except for you.
Right, because I was like, I don't want to listen to this shit. No, because here's what I just found out this morning. There was this big article on Decibel, and I'm not going to get into too much, but it's basically about the rise and fall of nu metal. And
I saw you put. I didn't have time to read it.
It's long, but it's good actually. I'll post it on the podcast page too. It's a really good article. They seem to really know what they're talking about, and I remember being alive for most of it, so it seems accurate. But basically what I found out is I got into metal, at least by the mainstream's estimation, at the worst possible time to get it. It was like metal had never been less popular than when I got into it.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Yeah. And so what it was
metal was dead.
Right, but I was getting into all the old stuff while everyone else was like, oh, no, that shit's not cool. But people were like, yo, Korn, right? And I was like, no, fucking Megadeth, man. Like, fucking sweating bullets. And,
sweating bullets.
Yes.
Hello, me.
Meet the real me. We have to do an episode where we just talk in Dave Mustaine voices the entire time. But, I'll do an episode where I just talk in Dave Mustaine voice. But, but one thing I keep hearing from people who do like Korn, because I understand they're one of those things where it's like, I'm just not into what they're doing. So even if they're the best band at it, it's not really my thing. They seem to be the best band at it for what they're doing.
Of all nu metal bands, they were the best band. And the second album, Life is Peachy, I legitimately think that's a good album. It's not a great album. I don't tell people like, dude, you need to go listen to this. Yeah. But I will listen to that album start to finish and not complain.
Yeah. Cool.
The first album, so they only have 2 listenable albums in my opinion. It's the first 2. Yeah. The problem is the first album has no architecture whatsoever. It's just like it's what you would expect from a band on the radio. Yeah. It's just there are some songs on an album. Yeah. And some of them are kind of cool and some of them are really bad. And they played all of them at this show.
The thing that I had heard was that a lot of people who are into metal, and because the thing is there's a lot more people who like quote unquote like traditional metal who do like Korn, and they just didn't they told their friends when it was cool, and then when it stopped being cool they stopped, you know what I mean? Like there's plenty of metal because we're sort of in the like we're in the 21st century and there's a certain amount of perspective on the ups and downs of metal, and like anything kind of heavy and sort of metal is like, look, just don't argue whether it's metal, who gives a shit, you know what I mean? Like
it's the pendulum swinging back from when. But at that time when metal was totally dead, there were defenders of metal, especially because they hated nu metal. And so there was like this whole thing about like, this isn't metal. Or
that's
like, what's metal?
That's not a Manowar album title, is it? Defenders of Metal?
No, Defenders of the Faith.
Right, there you go. Close enough. I was like, that sounds close.
No, but that's not a Manowar album.
Oh. Who's Defenders of the... Oh, Priest.
Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Are any of those people not obnoxious? Because I've always found them like super terrible.
It depends. I have a couple friends who are that way. Some of them have seemed to have like chilled out in the 15 years since then. But yeah, some of them, I don't know, like some people are just weird about certain things, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there are a bunch of people who are really weird about heavy metal.
I think most people, when they hit their 30s, chill out about it a little bit, just because they're just like, who gives a shit? You know, like what have I accomplished by being like intense about this shit?
What is keeping the faith doing?
Right.
Like, yeah, but I don't know. But some people, it's just that's how they are. That's how they operate, and they just get in the habit of being that way, and they never let go.
So okay, so I do know that, and the fact that I know a lot of people much younger than me. I've also know people who just like Korn. You know, there's plenty of people, they're 10 years younger than me, and they're like, oh yeah, fucking Korn, man. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really into that. Like, really, man? But fucking
like Jill was down to see Korn. Like, she was like, yeah, I legitimately like and her friends, like, she has two metal. I'm making the air quotes. She has like two metal. I don't know, guys. I've actually never met these girls, but she's giving me very colorful descriptions of them. She had two friends that were like they were super jealous that she was getting to see.
And I have Korn. And I have some friends, like I have a friend of me and Jamie, Spencer, really into Korn, and he was the guy who I'm like, I'm gonna tell him I saw this, and he's gonna be like, oh, I'm so jealous, and be like, hey, yeah, I thought it was dumb. But it was also one of those cases where I was like, well, when else am I gonna ever see Korn again? Probably never. So but I had heard, yeah, but their first album's really good. That's the one thing people always, like, metal people, I guess because they hadn't done quite as much of the, like, scat yet. You know,
he hadn't
came.
The scat. You know? There is like an outtake on the first album that's there.
Yeah.
That's clearly not produced. And then it's the second album where they record Twist, which is the scat song. But it doesn't. Seriously though, that second album is a good one.
Yeah. No, but there was, and there were precursors to it on the first one. I could hear like it was coming, but. Anyway, so the point is, I've heard this before, and so I was like, well, fuck, if it's the one time I'm going to see Korn, and they're going to play the album that people say is like, oh yeah, that one's all right, then cool. But what I didn't know was the subject matter of the album, which Rich and Chill began to enlighten me about, which put a whole different spin on watching them play it. So it's basically about abuse.
Yeah, it's about like domestic abuse in terms of like sexual abuse of children,
right?
Like, but the way it's framed. So admittedly, I don't really know anything about the band, but so I don't know if this is like true to life or he's playing a character,
right?
But the way it comes across is Jonathan Davis, the singer of Korn, is the victim of sexual violence. Either in real life or the context of the album.
Right.
I don't know. We probably should have looked that up before.
Well, here's the thing. No, I've looked it up. And the thing is, that's the interesting thing about it, right? They don't, it's always framed as about abuse, but never specified that it is or isn't. It's more often framed as being probably fictional, but again, the way it comes off especially when you hear it and see him perform it is about you, right, buddy? Is this your, yeah, oh geez, sorry about that. But like, and the other thing is like, you know, the cover of the album has a little girl on it, which I feel is like a misdirect, right? Because then there's also clearly like, again, first person, like there is like, it's established that there is like a little boy character. So I almost feel like they're like, yeah, no, it's about some kid.
Right, because
they're trying to direct a little away from Jonathan Davis being like, this is really personal.
Right, because he keeps saying faggot. Yeah. Which implies, male on male.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's some other little stuff too. But yeah, so anyway, so that was an interesting experience having not heard this album probably at all, because there weren't any singles off it, right? There's no big.
I don't know if there was a radio release for anything. If the song that everyone seems to know is "Blind," which is the first song.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was. I feel like the label, like, really, there might have even been a video, but it's one of those things you would have only ever seen if you were watching the box. Like it wasn't on MTV. I don't know. Right. I don't remember. I'd have to go look that up.
Yeah. I think
there may have been singles.
I think like their first real like hit was on the second album. So like if there was a single, it wasn't.
Adidas was like their was like the first song that everybody knew.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was really interesting. There's The only thing that they didn't play is the sort of extended like sample.
Right. So they played some of the samples, I feel like, but they didn't. But right at the end of the album. So if you don't know this album, at the end of the album, the last track, which is called Daddy, is like 13 minutes or something, and like 7 of those are this weird recording of this domestic dispute and like a bunch of sobbing. Like and
so if you want to get triggered, you should go listen to this track.
But so basically, like
it's very uncomfortable.
They just like ended the album, and then I was like, all right, are they gonna like do it, and it's gonna get super awkward in here? And like, no, they didn't. Yeah. They didn't do it. They went on. They played the hits. Yeah, they went on and played some hits. Yeah,
they did the hit encore. But the other interesting thing is that the album goes from like. Again, sort of assuming it's kind of following the same thread about the main story, which again, I did find more things sort of implying that's the thing. It's supposed to be kind of a thematic whole. It goes from like subtle to like not even innuendo, kind of like very blatant towards the end. Yeah. And again, I had not heard. Oh, the funniest part is the last song, Daddy, which is the most disturbing by far because it's the most explicit and graphic about what's going on. A bunch of people, I mean, maybe they're just trying to beat the traffic, but we saw people leaving as this song was starting, and it was like, is it because this one gets way too rapey?
Right, it's this is too much, or you're just trying to beat the rush,
right? Or
like we didn't really know.
And we didn't see anybody like doing the this is my jam. Like nobody was like yeah, they're playing this one. Like nobody. It was very like weirdly calm,
anticlimactic.
Yeah, I think everyone's just uncomfortable.
The funniest thing to me about the set though was that so they had a keyboard player, and he was like in the shadows. Like he was clearly on stage. But they told him 2 things. They were like, 1, the light is never going to be on you. No, they told him 3 things. 1, the light is never going to be on you. 2, the camera crew is never going to shoot. Like, if you were just watching this video screens, you would not have known there was a keyboard player because he did not appear in a single shot the entire time. Yeah. 3, they were like, keep your hair in front of your face the whole time. like they were like, this band's not really about masks. There's another band on the fest that's kind of about masks, so we're not gonna get into that. But if you could just keep your hair in front of your face so no one knows who you are, that'd be great.
Just so you know, you're not a member of Korn.
Yeah, no, it was super weird. I don't know. He was the DJ.
Yeah. And I should say that for really not being into Korn, they were really good. They put on a solid show.
Oh yeah, they had it
good live.
They had it down. Yeah. Right. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
They had their set together. But we were really disappointed though because they were wearing like all Adidas gear, and then they didn't play Adidas. And I was like, oh
yeah,
man. And then the other weird thing was which one was I can't remember if it was Head or Monkey. He was playing one of the reissue White Universes, which I thought was strange, just because he wasn't playing like one of their because the other dude was playing one of the new like 20th anniversary RGD signatures, which I didn't know that they had. I was like, why is he playing an RGD? And then I went and looked it up, and I was like, oh, they have a new limited edition signature, whatever, blah blah blah. But then he was just playing it. The other dude was just playing one of the reissue universes. He wasn't playing a Apex or a K7 or anything like that. Like, oh well, that was weird.
Yeah.
But you know, they were solid. They play a set. People were into it. They you know, except the ones that left. Yeah. And then that was day 1. I don't think we didn't do anything crazy afterwards, right? We just like went to sleep because I got kicked in the head.
Yeah, it was just the whole thing. I mean, it's all day. Like we got there at like 1. And
right, Gorguts went on at 1:30. We got there at 1.
Yeah, and Korn was the last band. They played till like 10:15.
10:30.
Yeah,
no, they played till 10:30. No one had any encores. That's the other thing that that was probably by design because of the set times, whatever. But even you figured to the last band, it's a big deal. Like they'd play an encore. No one played an encore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 10:30, and then we went to sleep because we were gonna have to do the whole thing again the next day.